They hired the school.
6:30, call the meeting to order. Certify compliance with the open records law.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Hayden.
Here.
Councilmember Hooker.
Here.
Councilmember Raisler.
Here.
Councilmember Schofield is absent, and Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's adopted. Public comments. The floor is open. If anybody from the public would like to speak, please identify yourself for the record. One more call for any public comments. Hearing none. Move on to, we didn't have any scheduled appearance. We have the consent agenda. The following matters may be acted upon by the City Council utilizing a single vote. Individual items which any member wishes to address in greater detail or as a separate item from the regular agenda may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any council member. All we have are the minutes from the regular City Council meeting from May 25th, 2022. Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
We have motion second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It is approved. Next, we move on to a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing are for a number of licenses with the City of Durand. We start out with the combination Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses for the following businesses: Bodie's Saloon, LLC, Cell Block, LLC, Riverside Corral Incorporated, doing business as the Corral Bar, Riverside Grill, the Durand Hotel Group, doing business as the Cobblestone Inn and Suites. Thanks, Mark. The Rooster Tail Bar and Grill, Rolling Greens Golf Course, Travis W. Hooker, doing business as the Spot Bar LLC, and Kingfisher LLC. A Class B, Class C for Perks Cafe. A combination Class A liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses for the following businesses: Landmark Services Cooperative, doing business as the Duran C-Store and Hardware. L&P Nyberg LLC, doing business as the Duran Fresh Market. Synergy LLC, doing business as the Duran Travel Stop number 3774. Ryan's Sport Shop Incorporated. And Todd C. Conkle Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as Handy Mart number 1047. So at this point here, I hereby declare the public hearing open. If anybody would like to speak for or against concerning any of these licenses, please stand and identify yourself for the record. I'll once again call for any comments concerning the public hearing on these license applications. If anybody has any comments, would like to speak for or against, please identify yourself for the record. Hearing none, I hereby declare this public hearing closed. Next, we move on to the business agenda, the mayor's report. Just a few things to talk about. First of all, I'd like to send congratulations out to Parker Schneider and Kendall Hagnes and all the Panthers that went to the state track meet, especially the two, as I mentioned, that won the state championships. We're going to have a little bit of a cleanup in July, as I call it, of support and recognitions. Not only those folks we would like to get in at the meetings in July, but also some retirements and so on. And we're trying to get those all taken care of. So we're going to take the opportunity here at some future meetings to honor those kids for doing such a great job, and some other folks. I'd like to thank the local veterans, especially Post 181 for the great Memorial Day service that was held back last week. It was always an honor to do the welcome at that event. And again, they obviously did a lot of things, honored a lot of vets, and especially those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Just a reminder, coming up at the next City Council meeting, or prior to the next City Council meeting on the 22nd at 5:30, we'll be having the Public Welfare Committee concerning the discussion about the dog park. Also, the administrator did hand out some information as we're compiling information for the council prior to that, and everybody will have received a copy of that. I would also like to thank the staff for all their hard work in getting ready for the pool opening. I think that we've started out pretty well. I'm sure we'll hear a report from our CPO. But it looks like every afternoon, it seems like when I drive by, there's some kids in there, even though it hasn't been hot, but it's been in doing that. So again, thanks for all the staff, everybody who made that happen and get the pool open for this year. Okay, anything else? Any questions? Okay, we have nothing that we brought off the consent agenda. Move on to the administrative report. Administrator Rasmussen?
Just a couple things as well, then I'll chime in some more on probably some of the individual department reports as well. It's been a busy building permit season thus far. I think it's clearly we're seeing some pent-up demand from what we've experienced the last couple summers with COVID and lumber prices and things of that nature. Just kind of a public thank you here for a lot of good questions, a lot of people calling in, asking questions regarding building versus just going ahead and doing it and asking for forgiveness later. So applying through the permit process and things of that nature. To that end, though, we do have at least 3 at this point variance requests that we'll be discussing in the next couple of weeks. One of them is actually a business as well. So we'll be convening that committee, but again, encourage that everyone, if you, whatever kind of building project you may have, even if you think that shed is just, the small 10 by whatever, you still have to have a permit, you still have to call on whatever you're doing. And again, we'll set you in the right direction, so we thank you for that. Just real quick one, maybe we can talk a little bit more when we get to Director Miller's report, but we did receive notice yesterday that the state of Wisconsin is freeing up $12 million of their ARPA funding to specifically help stabilize the EMS issue in the state of Wisconsin. So you've heard us, obviously we've talked about our issues here and the challenges that Director Miller and his staff have had. We talked several times about the lengthy discussions we had at the last League of Municipalities meeting last October, and the number of municipalities in Wisconsin that are having issues on the EMS side. So this is a real welcome $12 million grant that basically will open up next week, and they're saying it's basically a 1-month process. But what this falls under is supplies, even equipment, vehicles, staff recruitment and retention. So again, real plus of what we've already talked about and allocated some of our ARPA funding for. Maybe there's the potential to supplant that or use it a little bit more as we move forward in the future. So Director Miller and I are going to be talking through that, and Heidi Stewart was kind enough to pass along as well. So again, we have a lot of information out there on that, and we'll follow up on these things as we hear about them. Again, we take advantage of these grant situations whenever we hear about them. Clearly, Russ and Cedar Corps are on top of everything we hear from the state on the transportation side. And as we hear about these things, we'll jump on them. It's just, sometimes there's just not a lot of state grants for a lot of different things. I know we talked about it even as far as the pool, for example, and Parks and Rec type stuff. That's a tough one. But when the state is going to offer this, or the feds at whatever level, and I know we've had training grants and things like that in the past, so we've always jumped on all the public safety side of things. We'll continue to apply and do our best to get them as they come on. So. Otherwise, that's about all I have, but again, I will chime in on some other items as they in other department reports.
Any questions for the city administrator? Hearing none, we'll move on. Discussion possible action regarding the Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses. As we said, we just listed all of them that we had the public hearing for. And again, this is for the, so at this point here, would somebody like to make a motion to approve those?
Can you read them all again?
No, I'm not going to read them all again.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Class B liquor license as listed by the mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and second. It's on the floor for any discussion. Is there any discussion concerning the Class B, or the combination Class B liquor and fermented malt beverage license list? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. They are approved. Next, we have discussion possible action regarding the Class B and C for Perks Cafe. Any discussion? Otherwise, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Class B and C for Perks Cafe.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the Class B and C for Perks Cafe. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Next we have discussion possible action regarding the combination Class A liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses for the businesses, again, on this one here, I won't read them all again, that were just handled during the public hearing. Any discussion, or would somebody like to make a motion concerning that group of licenses?
I'll make the motion to approve the Class A liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses for the businesses listed.
Second. We have a motion and second to approve the combination Class A liquor and malt beverage licenses. Is there any discussion concerning any of these? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. They are approved. Next, we'll have discussion possible action regarding the attached operator license list. Everybody should have received a copy. It was in the packet, correct? Was any other changes?
The pink one is the corrected one, or an updated
There
one.
should be a pink one, that would be the,
Probably the sticker.
again, we don't have to have public hearing on this, but obviously we have these reviewed by the chief of police. And chief, what's your report on this list?
Everybody is fine except for Austin Healy. Doesn't fit in our guidelines. He has 2 felony convictions, and according to our adopted guidelines, he does not qualify for an operator's license.
Okay. Any questions on that? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the operator permits as presented? With the one, as again, that's recommended for not approval by the chief.
I'll make a motion, we approve the operator's permits for all listed except for Mr. Healy.
Is there a second? And there's a second. Okay, it's on the floor for any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion's agreed to. Next, we'll have discussion possible action regarding tobacco licenses for Durand. This includes the Duran C-Store, Duran Fresh Market, Duran Travel Stop, Heike Pharmacy, Handy Mart 1047, Family Dollar, and the Spot Bar. And everybody, there's a list on there, who the owner and agent, of course, was included with that. Any discussion concerning the tobacco licenses? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve the tobacco licenses listed below.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the tobacco licenses. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's approved. Next, we have discussion possible action regarding the coin machine license list. That was also included in your packet. It includes everybody that's on that, plus the number of machines. We did simplify this a few years ago to one set, and that's the one thing we did do a few years ago. But again, that list is included, the business name, and of course, the address for each one. Any discussion? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion concerning the coin machine license list?
Make a motion to approve the attached coin machine license list.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the coin machine license list. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 What?
Yeah. Those opposed say no?
No.
No, okay. I believe they're all, something like that. The list is approved. Next, we'll have discussion possible action regarding an additional facade enhancement grant request from the Happy Duck LLC for Michael and Laura Tigan.
Okay, I'm going to give a little history on this first. Again, just as a reminder for those that were around back in October of 2020 when we first approved one of the facade grants for the Tigans when they were looking at operating a wine slash business, piano bar, I think even at the time. At that time, obviously the Tigans did a major renovation to that building that they're in now. At that point, they had over $16,000 in expenditures, of which, just over about $10,000 of expenditures, but the city approved a grant to them of $5,300 back in October of 2020. At that time, and I think it was, they were kind of starting to figure out whether they're going to stick with that business or move to this current auction hardware business that they're in now. Obviously, that's been operating now for a while, but they, at the time, we discussed that they would have continuing updates to the building that they were working on, and that they may have additional loans or additional requests for grants. At the time, we discussed that since they're a 3-sided building, that they would be eligible for up to $15,000, $5,000 per side for facade grant. Like I said, we offered, or we paid out just over $5,000 in last time, and now this time they've come forward finishing up basically some windows and trim for just under $3,000. The side door that they've put in is $2,200, and then some signage for $440. So basically, they have total, that's this portion of that. So the total expenditure is about $5,600, of which they're looking for a grant then from the city of $2,800 and $4.40. The window and trim clearly is eligible in my mind, and that was shared with them. The signage as well. The overhead door is a little tougher. It really doesn't discuss, we've discussed a lot of things in our, basically in our facade grant. Clearly, we've been through this number of times that maintenance such as roofs, siding, doors, decks, window replacements are all eligible. Doesn't say a whole lot in there about the side door. Clearly, it's a benefit to their business. It's a little bit of a gray area. To be honest with you, I'm coming before you saying I would recommend we subsidize them for it. From the standpoint, if for no other reason of, frankly, they've done a lot with a building that sat vacant for 3 years. They're running a successful business. Kudos to them. But again, that garage door is a little bit of a gray area. Does it enhance the building? Pros and cons, right? If anyone else were to go in there, would that be a pro or a con? I don't know. But that's not what we're talking about from the grant side of things here either.
What's the about doors in the verbiage there, Scott?
It just says, again, regular maintenance issues such as roof, siding, doors, decks, and window replacements are eligible projects for this program.
It does also say replacement. There was never a door there.
Right.
And it's
It's a gray area.
How much was the door? Did they have
20, so the door and all the maintenance, the installation and some additional work that they had to do inside totaled $2,200. So it's about a $1,100 reimbursement they're asking from the city to cover just the door.
a total of $2,300.
Yeah.
Of a total of $2,300.
Right.
And remember, ours is based on up to $5,000 per side, and we pay up to 50% for work that's already been completed. Because once we get the thing, that's when we reimburse them after the work's been done.
So if this were approved, basically they would have $8,100 of $15,000 in eligibility for a facade grant. My understanding is they don't have too many other plans at this point to replace anything else that would be facade eligible.
I think anything to make a building look better, make it more useful is in the whole community's benefit, so I approve it.
As I said, it was an empty building that's now active.
Scott, you said they got 5,300 the first time?
Yes.
Max is 5,000, correct?
Per side of building, and they have 3 sides.
Why we give them 5,300 though, and the max is 5,000 per side?
Because they did other side, so they did front and back.
Front and back.
Yeah, their awning issues were front and back. And again, at that time, we talked about the fact that it was a 3-sided building, so they would be eligible up to $5,000 a side. But they were asking for essentially 2 sides, if you will, up to $10,000.
They did work on both.
Exactly.
They did
So they
both on the front
technically could have
side.
got 10,000.
Yeah.
So this is it then?
Well, I think there would still be the possibility that they could be eligible for another $7,000 if they put in enough extra work on any given sides of the building. But again, we'd have to be a little more picky, I would say, about, well, okay, so how much did you spend on the front? How much on the side? This is not just a $10,000.
We don't stipulate they can only ask one time for each side.
No, we certainly talked through that as well,
Yeah.
and we talked to other businesses on that one, yeah, it was very clear with
So
them
we could
that-
give them this, and they still have, in 6 years, could come and ask for additional up to that 15,000.
Yeah, and we would, and again, we would probably have to, as I think Mark's in the point of, okay, well, if you put 20,000 just in the front of the building, we're probably not gonna give you 10 for that. That's clearly, you get 5 for that, but clearly they've done work on front and back for the first one, and now obviously on the side, especially when it relates to that overhead.
And remember, to qualify for a side, it has to be against an operating road.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's the other thing that we request.
So if another business in town said, I'm gonna bust out that wall and put it in the garage door, we're okay?
Well, it would be eligible for you to decide. Now, again, just from example, if the cell block were to do something with their existing door, again, I'd modify it in some way, they would probably ask if that would be eligible.
But I didn't mention that because I see it as different because it's there.
But if they were, I mean, what if they were to block it in? They probably, I would think they would ask for at least to consider a facade grant.
But that is kind of a trend in a lot of establishments nowadays where they have roll-up doors for nice days.
You're right,
You know, they
yeah.
have them open.
Okay, any other questions on this, this application, facade application? If not, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve their request.
And I stumbled over the number, Don, if I can add that. So
Yes.
$2,804.40.
Sorry, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and second to approve the facade improvement grant. Is there any more discussion? Comments or questions? Yes?
Not specifically related to this, but you mentioned that it has to be towards a road. So what about like the back of a building, like Ryan's Sports Shop, for instance, where there isn't a road, but yet anybody that comes on the bridge or the water or the sidewalk still
What-
sees
I
that?
don't know if we use road, did we?
Yeah, I think it's basically the frontage or
Yeah.
that there's some.
And we've always said,
access or-
we always, the back of any of these buildings would
Yeah,
be included.
yep.
Okay.
Whether
And
it's-
some of them.
And I understand there is a
some
road
of
for
them have
parking.
been, yeah.
You know, I don't think we would split hairs if Ryan did something, you know?
Yeah.
You're right.
And I'm just using him as an example. I don't think he has any intention of doing that.
I mean,
Anything we can do to make the backs look always, better is awesome.
Okay, any other questions? If not, let's have a roll call on this, spending money.
Councilmember Hayden.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Billis.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
All five in favor.
Motion's agreed to. Next, we move on to public safety, police department, Chief Ridgway.
You have the monthly report on your desk, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about school safety, give you guys an update on kind of what the Durand Police Department does to be prepared if anything were to happen in our school districts. So the school district utilizes a system called ALICE. It stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. I'm an instructor in that, along with several other teachers within the school district, and Mr. Doverspike as well. So every year, new teachers coming in get taught ALICE. Brandon is at those trainings, working with the new teachers on how to respond. We do active shooter training yearly. 2 years ago, we went down to Pepin and did it in their school with them, the Pepin Police Department. Last year, back in February, I guess, of this year, we did it here at the Durand High School. We're planning one for again this summer as well, and we're invited down to Pepin's active shooter training. So if we do our own and we do Pepin's again, we'll have another 2 just in this year alone, teaching our officers how to respond to active shooters. We train our officers that we want you to respond right away. Whether we're not waiting for backup. We teach our officers definitely respond. The FBI statistics are that active shooters in schools, they're done between 2 and 5 minutes after they enter the school. So we want our officers responding immediately. And that was the reason why we pushed the SRO, the school district in the city of Durand. We want somebody on the grounds as an insurance policy. So if anything were to occur, Brandon's immediate response would hopefully stop that threat a lot quicker than me responding from anywhere in the city of Durand, and the sheriff's department responding as well. Like I said, 2 to 5 minutes is the FBI statistics on how long an active shooter occurs. We have a system called Virtual Academy where we do online trainings through our department. We just assigned another one this month regarding active shooters. So it's something the department is always talking about, and we're always training on it as well to try to be as prepared as possible for those situations. So I just wanted to give an update that we do think about it and we do talk about it. Brandon and I actually spent just about an hour this afternoon talking about plans, getting laminated maps in our squad cars, and just constantly planning for how we would respond. A lot of times it's going to be probably Brandon and I there, Matt and the sheriff will probably be there during the day, and then their day shift deputies. So, we've got a good group around here that train well, and we feel like we'd be prepared to respond to a situation. So that's that update. Brandon did a bike safety training in May. I went and assisted him with that. It was for 2nd and 3rd graders. They all were allowed to bring their bikes in, and we set up a little course in the parking lot and then out onto off streets. And so we taught some safe bicycling skills. And during that, Brandon had identified a kid who didn't have a bike. So it was the kid's birthday coming up. The kid had lost his mom about a year and a half ago, and sorry, I get choked up talking about this stuff. So Brandon actually organized with some teachers to do a donation. So the teachers and the Durand police officers came together, got enough money to buy the kid a bike and some gift certificates to celebrate his birthday. So kind of close to home. I was at his mom's death, so I apologize. But it was kind of a great.
Very, very nice gesture.
That's all I have. Sorry.
I was just going to add that we also had active shooter training here. Was it 2.5 years ago as well? So again, this is something obviously that the department has been aware of and been working with all sectors, not just even the school.
Yeah. I have put it on for private businesses as well. I did it for Seventh-day Adventist Church across the river. I did it for Security Financial Bank. They had a day of training up in Menominee where they had all the branches come in, and I did their training as well. So it's something that I offer to any other private businesses as well. If they want to come in for active shooter training, I've got a PowerPoint presentation, some stuff that we did with Alice that I bring to businesses, and I'd definitely be willing to come into businesses and teach it as well. That's all I have.
Any questions for the chief? Next we move on, discussion possible action regarding ATV UTV ordinance update to align with Pepin County. Chief, if you want to give a report on it.
So Pepin County changed its ATV UTV ordinance, and we are trying to get in line with that. So some changes that we identified. The first one would be under 4 conditions, D. There's just a mistake there, called it a town road instead of city road, so we cleaned that up and put city in there. And then G, under that same section, we used to be that 1 hour after sunset, ending 1 hour before sunrise. So we got rid of the time frame. Pepin County is now 24 hours a day, so we would just eliminate G. And then we would create a new G, and it would be the ATV, UTV operators aged 12 through 17 to operate on approved city streets as long as they comply with the restrictions set forth in Wisconsin statutes. We used to be that they had to have a valid driver's license. there was a little bit of talk after our public safety meeting, so I just wanted to clarify something. So kids that are 12 years old, they have their ATV certificate, they still have to be accompanied by an adult. Accompanied means either the machine in front or the machine directly behind that 12-year-old on the ATV. UTVs, you have to be 16 in order to operate those, but the ATV, if they have their safety certificate and they're accompanied by an adult, they'd be able to drive on city of Durand streets, which would be in line with Pepin County's ordinance. So.
And this went in front of the safety committee. Chairman Gillis, would you like to report on it?
Well, just after a brief discussion, we recommended full council to make the changes as requested.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion to make changes in this ordinance?
I'll make the motion to make the 2 changes that the chief requested to our ATV ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the changes to the ordinance. It's on the floor for any further discussion. Hearing none, since it is a change to an ordinance, I'm going to request a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Hayden.
Yes.
Councilmember Booker.
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion's agreed to. The changes are approved.
I'm sorry, just note, Mayor, that, so this will take effect, we'll get it in the paper, published next week, so it'll be take effect next Thursday, basically.
Next we move on to Fire Department. Chief King?
You guys got the report in front of you. We had 13 calls last month. They're all listed. Upcoming events. A reminder, we'll be out at the Pepin County Dairy Breakfast out at the Off Farm this June 11th. And then a reminder of the kids' water fight following the parade here in town on Sunday. Other than that, I just found out that we're also getting audited for the 501c3 will be tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock by the state. So we are all prepared and I'll report on that. Next report. But everything's good to go and we have no worries. So. But it's our first 501c3 nonprofit. It's all the fundraising funds, our raffles, our raffle license. It's the full-blown audit. So
There's a number of organizations in town that are getting audited. We're not the only ones.
And this audit, since it's our first one, is going to be a learning experience. So if they do find something, it'll all be a learning curve for us. The guys seem very polite of what he's going to be doing and what he's looking for. But we're all set for tomorrow morning at 9. So.
Don, do you know, has the ambulance service ever been audited?
Not that I know of.
Is there the potential for us as well? Or?
Because you're not a 501c3.
This audit is all for the state, our raffle license.
Okay.
Right.
It's all through the gaming, state of Wisconsin gaming.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, so.
But they get nitty gritty into they need to see our books, money in, money out. It's the whole shebang. So, other than that, don't really have nothing new to report on this month.
Any questions for the Fire Department? Okay, thank you. Next we move on, ambulance report. Director Miller?
Yes, good evening. My report should be in front of you, and fairly uneventful month. Everything went very well. We, in addition, I didn't put on here, it'll be on my next month's report, but I have 4 more applications. So,
good to hear.
Did a National Registry exam a couple weeks ago in Chippewa Falls. I was one of the examiners and talked 2 EMTs that day into applying down here. So, and one of them, I believe, she is a local, so it helps to be out there. And plus, I would like to give credit to Chippewa Valley Technical College staff. They have the full-time and EMT instructors up there have been doing a really good job of promoting Durand Ambulance, because I'm also one of the adjunct faculty up there, so I've been plugging it pretty hard, and they've been doing a really nice job of directing people that are looking to get some experience as an EMT down in our direction. So hopefully that will be a good boost. And like I also said in there, Justin Scott is a brand new hire. He comes with several years of experience already, and he was with me all day today doing some training, and we went on an ambulance call today as well. So he should be on the schedule really soon and will be a good addition to our service. In regards to the calls missed, the 911 calls, I am happy to report that the majority of those, I think 3 of them were, one was in Pepin, so we were covering for them and we were not able to cover for them. So it wasn't a Durand, directly affected Durand EMS 911 call. And the other 2 were medical help alarms that somebody from Dunn County First Responders arrived on scene and canceled us because there were no injuries. So, but they have to count them as a missed 911 call, but thankfully 3 of those 4 were for the most part. And then the call in Pepin also was no injuries, a lift assist. So.
And Mike, to that end, we've been assisting Pepin?
Yes.
Because the issues they're having.
And I just 2 days ago received an email with an option of them being able to lease an ambulance if they are still having mechanical issues. And I haven't had a chance. I talked to Heidi a couple days ago and told her to have, I'm brain farting on her name,
Tina.
Thank you.
Cook.
Tina to contact me, and I haven't heard from Tina yet. So, but yes, we do have an option for them to get an ambulance in service that's reliable and dependable. Last I had heard that their ambulance on one call was only able to get up to like 30, 40 miles an hour top speed. So that's unacceptable, you know, I mean, we gotta help them any way we can. And even if it's, I've contacted my contacts in Minnesota, and 2 of them have responded back to me, and one of them does have an ambulance. And believe it or not, the fact that there is even an ambulance available is very rare right now in the whole United States. There are a lot of departments that have 2, 3, even a 4-year wait to purchase a brand new ambulance. I spoke with a gentleman from Gunderson, a tri-state ambulance out of La Crosse. He called me back and we had about a 20-30 minute conversation. He was very helpful, but he had said that they purchased 6 brand new ambulances, and they purchased them 2 years ago, and they will hopefully be getting them this December. Yep. There's been an incredible chassis shortage and just supplies in general for building a lot of new equipment. So, yeah, it's pretty scary if, you know, and I don't know, we're in really good shape here, knock on wood, with our 2 ambulances, but, you know, for those like Pepin who are experiencing some critical situations, we got to do everything we can to help. And I know a couple days ago, getting back to speaking with Heidi, Pepin requested mutual aid, and Heidi found out through dispatch that they did have 1 EMT on scene in Pepin. And so she contacted me to see if, because they had requested mutual aid from Durand Ambulance, and she was the only one available during the day, the weekday, and she informed me that there was 1 EMT on scene. So I said that qualifies as, you know, legal if you needed to transport, and it was a mutual aid. So what she ended up doing was she took our ambulance to Pepin, and apparently she is also on Pepin ambulance service. And I haven't spoken with her since to see how it all panned out, but she said she was going to get their ambulance, and then it would be 2 Pepin EMTs on that call. So there again, just a couple days ago, we assisted Pepin ambulance on a call that they couldn't staff. Any questions?
Mike, how old is our oldest ambulance?
It is a 2017. And the 872 is a 2019.
We're in pretty good shape.
Yes.
And we recall we had that decided. That was, I mean, we bought the newest ambulance right before.
And both of them are equipped with the auto load cot system, and that in and of itself is, I mean, priceless. It could, if it could save one back injury for workman's comp, it pays for itself. It really does. And I've been rotating them every month, and so that they don't get, you know, just bugs in them from sitting, not being used. Because the reserve ambulance is, when it's in the reserve status for that month, it is strictly used for times when 2 calls may come in at once, where the first ambulance is out and a second ambulance call comes in, and if we can staff it, then that ambulance goes. Or it is the transport ambulance for calls from the hospital.
Any questions for the ambulance? No? We'll go over to Public Works, Utilities, Engineers Report. Russ?
Yes. Tuesday last week, May 31st, we did email submit the proposed Main Street project to the Wisconsin DOT for the bipartisan infrastructure law grant application. So that was due on Friday last week, June 3rd, so got in several days before the deadline date. So we'll just wait till August or September on the grant award, so keep your fingers crossed. Again, that's an 80-20 grant, 80% for eligible improvements, the typical street, asphalt, base course, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and storm sewer and lighting are in that application. Update on the Dryer Street Laneville project with SSG. Their most recent additional restoration work is starting to come in pretty nice. It's still not there, so should be getting close soon to closing out that project. The other project update, 3rd Ave East with A1 excavating, status quo is still the same. We're still trying to get them to respond on their schedule to coming out to the site, completing that project and punch list items. That's not typical for A1 excavating. I don't know if they're short-staffed. I do know that this winter they were bought out by a very large conglomerate of company that bought them out. I know they're in a reorganization right now. I don't know if that's the issue or what it is, but we're not getting any response back. Did make calls again this week with emails to them. What's your schedule for completing the project? So we'd like to close it out and release your retainage and so forth. So we're holding, I think, around 53,000 in retainage. So not typical for a contractor not show up at this time of year to complete some minor punch list items that probably aren't going to take them but a few days to complete. So but we'll keep working on it.
Just to be clear, Russ, on that, they're minor punch list items. We don't have residents that are inconvenienced or.
No. It's a little bit of dirt work here, a little bit of dirt work there, hang a sign here, hang a sign
valves
there.
and some things like that.
Adjust the valve cover. You
We
wouldn't even know there's anything that really needs to be done
Right.
if it wasn't been for that little dig that they had to do last winter.
That's good.
Yeah, that water service little leak they had to repair, that's the one most noticeable. It needs some grass seeding. So we'll keep working on it. Hopefully we get some movement soon. That's all I have.
Any questions for the city engineer? Next, move on to monthly report. Superintendent Gillis.
Yeah, a few things to go over here quick. We are planning on fogging for mosquitoes tomorrow night, so there'll be a crew out tomorrow night, 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish. They usually come in and start. That's when they become the most active, so we'll get out there and we'll start spraying tomorrow. That's usually 3 to 4 hour event, so they'll be around town sometime.
They'll probably end up starting on the southern end of town and working their way north, just because we have softball, t-ball, all that stuff on Thursday nights up there, so we want to make sure they're well out of there before we venture to that end of town. So we take care of that. The Mosquito Hunters are actually going to be coming to Memorial Park Friday morning, and they're just going to do some spot treating and spraying around from Memorial Park for the weekend. And that is essentially our mosquito control efforts for Fun Fest. The swimming pool, as the mayor noted, things are running smooth, knock on wood. The boiler is on one stage. As I said last time, the pool has been floating around 80, 82 degrees. Most of that is because of the ambient air temperature has only been 70, 75. So if the ambient air temperature gets up, I'm sure that pool temperature will get up to 85, 86 pretty easily. It's set for 86, but with one stage, that's pretty hard to maintain if we don't get the ambient air temperature to help actually maintain that. So, but otherwise, chemically and physically, things are holding together for us. While we're on the pool, the bid schedule is coming up. Next meeting we'll have some. On the 22nd, we'll have some bid award approval, and then it'll be out for bids that Wednesday or Thursday or Friday after the next meeting. So it'll be out for bids then until the bid letting will be July 26th. That's when we will open the bids here at City Hall, read them aloud, and then the engineers will take them back to their office, make sure everything tabulates up, make sure they didn't miss anything, make sure everything's kosher. And then on July 27th at the city council meeting, you will essentially approve, it is the 27th, correct? Yep. Yeah. The 27th, you will approve, award the winning bidder. So if everything comes back properly. So that is the schedule. That gives us a little over 30 days to be out for bid. So that's the up-to-date schedule.
Is the bid letting, is that for both sides of the project, the inside and the outside?
The bid letting's for the entire project. So we're bidding this in 3 packages. You'll have a site work package where you'll have building demo, you'll have like water utility, sewer utility, stormwater utility, outside the fence, sidewalk, and restoration. That's like one package. Then the second package is all the pool components. It's the decking, the swimming pool, everything that has to do with the pool, including the furnaces and stuff that go in the building. The third package is the building. So you basically have the block, and then you have all the plumbing, all the electrical, everything that's in the building. So there'll be 3 packages, separate packages. So you can bid on, if you just want to do the site work, you bid on the site work. If you just want to do the building work, you bid on the building work. If you just want to do the pool, you bid on the pool. If you want to do all 3, you put a bid on all 3. So that's essentially how we're doing it to try and maximize our ability for local contractors to bid and help us build this and construct this pool.
So with having a pool engineer and also having a civil engineer, so what happened is they worked together and you did your parts of it and then was added into the packages that needed to be added in. Is that how that worked?
Correct.
Although most of their work was probably with the site.
Correct, yeah. So all the civil stuff is your site work. And then US Aquatics, the pool engineers, the building and the pool. And they work together on a few other things, like the civil sets a lot of the grades for the pool engineer. So they work together on a couple things, but mostly Russ has or Cedar Corp has the civil outside package, and then US Aquatics has the pool and the building.
I know we're moving the stormwater pipe, but the one that's underneath, will that be removed?
Yes.
Yes.
That'll be taken.
Yep.
And we have come up with a conclusion that we will not have to drain that to daylight. We think we're deep enough to drain that winterization manhole back around to the current storm pipe. So we probably will not have a storm to drain or drain to daylight anymore.
Yeah, that worked out good, elevation wise. Made it by about a foot. I was
About a foot? Okay.
concerned about their 14-foot depth of their winterization manhole, but once I worked out the numbers and the design, it worked out within a foot, so.
About a foot. And financially, does that make, I mean, if there's less work, you don't have to do that manhole?
Well, the manhole still has to go in, basically, and just instead of the pipe coming out in the middle of the hill and the water spreading out over the park, we just run the pipe around and tie it back
okay.
into another pipe. So,
Okay.
maybe a couple more sticks of pipe will be about it.
Cost will be like Matt says, the 14-foot deep manhole to drain the pool for winterization and the pool deck, and then the line they're connecting to that I'm designing up in the northwest corner, that's about 15 feet deep, so. It's a little deeper than we'd like to be, but that's the depth of the existing storm sewer when we route the storm sewer around the building to get rid of the storm sewer that goes under the pool right now, so. But we're saving, like Matt said, that additional pipe and going out the side and daylighting that winterization. And then during construction, Cedar Corp will be assisting Matt and the architect with the construction oversight, during construction, part-time work too, so. I think you're gonna get, like Matt says, the way they're packaging, the bid package, that should work real nice, like Matt said. Allows a lot of smaller contractors to bid on those separate packages in lieu of a one bid package with a general contractor, then contracting with a whole bunch of subcontractors, which typically a general contractor marks up those subcontractor work, so that should help be efficient in terms of cost and bidding also. Just some more coordination between different bids projects, but that's common to do it that way to save cost.
I had somebody in the public ask me about that, who's your general contractor? I said, we are.
Couple other things to report on too, just some more private sewer homeowner collapses, sewer collapses. Washington Street was dug up last week with one. Durand Street was dug up today with one. There's one on Madeline Court. They don't have to dig into the street on that one, but they gotta basically go up to the curb line and into the house. So, again, finding old Orangeburg pipe, some old clay tile and Orangeburg connections, and just a lot of old stuff out there. So it's all over town. So just updating you on some of that stuff. A couple other things here. Memorial Park. The bathrooms at Memorial Park started last fall, and it's continuing into the spring. We've been getting vandalism in the bathrooms. Really bad last fall. Stan and I put up some cameras in the building where we could legally put cameras up to try and see who was doing that. We've corrected some of those issues, but over this weekend we had somebody in the men's room. Essentially, this weekend wasn't too bad. They sprayed some like silly string in there, like cobweb type stuff, and then started a fire in the garbage can, and we got black soot all over the place. So if anybody in the public sees anything suspicious, I encourage them to report it, because if the vandalism keeps up, we'll have a discussion. But locking the bathrooms is the only way we can really solve that. So if people want these public bathrooms to stay open, I suggest we kind of do a little keep an open eye on that and just kind of report anything suspicious that we might see in these bathrooms. We did get a phone call today, the last couple days here, from a citizen who was very displeased that we would open a bathroom with it looking like that. Well, we didn't. I can assure you that it was vandalism from the kids. So just trying to keep everybody aware of what's going on around the parks. Last but not least, the water reservoir circuit boards failed us this weekend. They are 1976 circuit boards that are no longer made. A couple years ago I purchased the last two I could get my hands on. The board failed this weekend, and Monday it completely failed. We're at zero readings out of our water reservoir. So on Monday, we had to manually fill it, come in in the middle of the night, fill it, make sure that it was at the levels that were safe. Tuesday, I had a company come in and we were able to test some continuity and run some jumper wires from board to board and terminal to terminal to get us some readings back. They are not 100% where they need to be, but at least we have some readings that we can use to control the on and off of the tower. So over the next couple weeks to a month here, I'm going to be researching how to correct this problem. We have essentially 5 remote sites of the water reservoir, the water tower, the number 3 well, the number 4 well. Those 4 sites all report to the sewer plant, which would be the 5th site. So all those 4 sites need to send data down to the sewer plant to read it out onto a main control board. So we're going to have to update. All of that is the same style of equipment, so we're looking at what it might cost to update all of that equipment, and or if we could just update the one that's bad, but yet somehow get the new equipment to read with the old equipment. We're not sure if we can do that or not. So I know the phone company's been itching to get me off of their old copper lines. We're the only ones. There's like 2 buildings on the old copper lines that go up 3rd Avenue through Dryer. Last year during the construction, that line got hit in 3 different spots as well. So there's a lot of variables in playing in here as to why things aren't quite working in our favor. So, but with that being said, we're looking into how to correct these problems and what it might cost to get us up to date. So other than that, that's all I have for my report other than what's listed under number 3.
Okay. Any questions for Public Works Utilities? Hearing none, we'll move on to discussion possible action regarding Resolution 2220, Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, the CMAR. Everybody was included. Superintendent Gillis, you want to talk about the report?
Yeah, so every year the DNR has a compliance maintenance annual report. It's a report that essentially we have to do for the DNR, but it also has to come back here for a resolution from you guys to make sure that I am explaining to you what our wastewater treatment plant, the conditions of our plant are. As you can see, unless you have any questions, I know there's only about 1 of you in this room that probably has never seen this. But it goes through our, basically our inflow and loading coming into the plant, our plant design, all that stuff is good. Then the next page is effluent quality for BOD. Effluent quality for suspended solids is the next section, and then effluent quality for phosphorus. Those are the 3 things that we have to test for into the river. As you can see, all 3 of those we have 0 issues with meeting any of those limits. Then it moves forward into biosolids quality and management. That is the sludge that we generate and hauling it to the fields and testing it. We have no issues meeting any of our biosolids management. The only thing that ever comes in with biosolids management is not part of this report, but is land spreading, farmland access testing on some of that type of stuff. Then you move into staffing and preventative maintenance. They grade you essentially on whether or not your wastewater treatment plant is properly staffed. Whether your staff has the proper licensing, whether you allow adequate timing for staff to get CEUs to maintain their licensing, goes also into your maintenance program as far as paper, computer, make sure you have all the O&M manuals for all your stuff and what kind of maintenance you are doing to your treatment plant. Again, operator certification. And then there's the financial management section. or Scott and I kind of have to sit down and go over some of the replacement funds. It also asks about plant electricity, plant natural gas. They ask whether you have done electrical studies and trying to be more efficient, more green at your treatment plant. Let's see, what else am I here? And then you pretty much have your collection system maintenance. They have us make sure that you have a program for cleaning, televising. They want to know if you've had any overflows. When's the last time you audited your sewer user ordinance, which we pretty much, or I pretty much look at every year during the budget to make sure that there's nothing that we need to tweak during that time of the year. Goes into how much of the system we clean, how many lift stations we've had, and any issues that we may have in the collection system. With all that being said, if you go to the second to last page, or the last page, that's the grading summary. And you can see every section we have an A, in every section we have lost 0 points. And most of that is the willingness of the council to, staff the treatment plant properly, fund the treatment plant properly, and obviously for the guys to do their day-to-day work down there. So kudos to them for all the maintenance. Again, our treatment plant was built in 1980 and finished in the spring of 1981. So it's 41 to 42 years old. There was a little upgrade in the early 2000s, like 2004. They put a new headworks building on and did some painting and just some kind of touch-up work. But the majority of our treatment plant is 41, 42 years old.
Maybe good, I'm sorry, Mayor, just good reminder for everyone that, so basically it's a 5-year permitting process, and when's that up?
Correct. So the DNR license your current treatment plant for 5 years. That license is due next year, 2023 in September. We've actually started this summer doing our testing for that permit renewal. We have a bunch of testing that is required, a lot of paperwork that has to be filled out. All that testing, all that paperwork has to be filled out, turned in by basically March of 2023. Then there has to be a lot of, then the DNR goes into their review process. There has to be a statewide public hearing, and then they issue us a new permit. So we hope that none of our limitations change. The only thing that ever worries us is the phosphorus limit. Right now, we can put 1.0 milligrams per liter of phosphorus into the river. If that limit were to change, you'd be down to like 0.01 phosphorus into the river, which means you're looking at a treatment plant upgrade. You'll have to add a biological process onto the end of the treatment plant to get down to that low chemical. Right now, we chemically treat to get to a 1.0. Chemical will not achieve a 0.075 or a 0.1 or even a 0.01 or even a 0.1. So we hope that the DNR testing in the river and our testing and the equation that they use to come up with that figure hasn't changed, and we can keep the 1.0 figure that we're at right now. If anything, my vision, nothing would change at the treatment plant unless the DNR forces us to change something at the wastewater treatment plant, i.e. we can't meet our phosphorus limits, we can't meet our BOD limits, we can't meet our TSS limits. They threw an ammonia limit at us and we couldn't meet that. So, but if they do change limits, they essentially give you a 5-year window to plan for it. So if they change, so they would notify us in this next permit process in 2023 that they're going to lower our phosphorus limits, and they would give us 5 years from the end of 23 to the end of 28 to come up with a plan on how to on how to combat that new limit, and then that new limit would actually kick in the 2029 permit. That make sense?
And those upgrades are expensive.
Yes, that would not be cheap. By the way, as obviously, again, kudos to the staff, and that for some of us that have been around here a while, remember the first few reports I saw on this, it used to be, we used to get a lot of A's, but financial management was an F at one time, so that's one thing that's been brought up, and obviously efforts of staff and the council, former councils, and so on and so forth, to make sure we're doing the things we need to do financially, and then, but also in everything. But I remember when that F used to stand out big time on that report at one time. Okay, any questions on the compliance report? Hearing none, and this is the way we've always approved it. We don't know if we have to approve it this way, but it is as listed as a resolution. So if somebody could offer Resolution 2202, which is the approval of the compliance maintenance annual report.
Just to clarify, the DNR is a requirement that it is a resolution. I have to type in the resolution number on the website and everything.
Okay, so would somebody like to offer this resolution?
I'll offer Resolution 2202.
Okay, we have offered. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve it?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. And there's a second, okay? So, Resolution 2202, Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, is on the floor for any more discussion or questions? Hearing none, being a resolution, please have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis.
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
Councilmember Hayden.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenman.
Yes.
All five in favor.
Motion's agreed to, the resolution is approved. Okay, let's pay the bills. Just a reminder, everybody, of course, Fun Fest this weekend. Hopefully everybody will take the opportunity to enjoy. The parade, the carnival. I hear the wristband sales are going really well. And Chris Cruzy, Saturday.
Should be a good show.
Remember one thing on the future meetings and agenda items, the Public Welfare Committee on the 20th is actually going to be 5:30, not 5 o'clock. And because we basically have the one subject on, which is the dog park, and we'll have an hour to do that prior to the regular city council meeting.
What's that agenda gonna look like?
We're working on that.
It sure has some structure that it isn't just, I mean.
No,
This isn't a public hearing.
Yes, this isn't just a public
Before
meeting.
that, Councilman Fair, just quickly.
Proofread his notes.
Practice reading your approval.
Wow.
By the way, I actually do read through them. I just do that. I just don't do it out loud. You know, I look like a goot. Well, if I'm home by myself, but
Stand on your front yet.
Here, proclamation.
And just voided one here.
Just, yep, you can just throw that in, it's already good. The new one is in there. They never got the check, so we have to read it.
How bad it is too.
Most of the colleagues have, it says they usually give about 5 to 6 There's about 6 and then there's 3 people that
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's 3 to 4 exactly.
Back of it.
Following up with you.
Don't know if there's any other committees that need to meet besides public welfare at this point?
Just the variance committee
And then-
will get.
Yes.
set up,
I think that's all new to be used.
Of course, the variances go in front of
You really get a car.
The zoning variance.
Board of
And then obviously we come.
Yeah, Board of Appeals.
Yep. Getting
Yeah,
the
you're talking about the-
appropriate
We should,
notices out to neighbors.
Something to that.
we should sit down too, Scott. I think the rural's meeting is in what, July?
Yeah.
Sometime
It's,
July, middle of July, 20th, I think it
that
is.
sounds right.
If you get free time.
Yeah.
Let me know.
The building permits, Scott, so you say you've been getting a lot of them?
Yeah,
They like back
yeah,
up
and
or
I'm
anything?
sorry, one other piece of that I was gonna mention, Travis, is, and I know Mark asks for them occasionally, we'll get a list of those out on a more regular basis, just
I know,
so you guys are aware.
Justin Larson asked me the other day, I said he applied for one, I think he said 3-4 weeks ago or something.
Okay. Well, and then, I think that's one of them, that is
That
a
needed
variance.
variance?
Yes,
I
exactly.
figured
Yeah,
that when you
yeah.
said there's some that need variance, so.
Nope, nope, that's good.
Why not?
What is the sales this
Moving the wrong way. Leaning inland and stuff, quick out back in the river.
payment?
I'm sorry.
So
They must have paid like,
You talking about the one without here? Yeah, that has been taken care of, yes, that was,
so
yeah.
then they closed
Cut
the
off,
house.
I think that was clear.
If they had a credit to their.
Usually what happens with those, Don,
Yeah.
usually what happens is they get their bill thinking it's still owed, when we turn it into the title company, and the title company pays us, and then the customer comes up and pays us.
Okay,
So it doesn't happen very often, but it's true for most people.
that's guys, I saw two, and that's what I was asking.
It's not very often we get them, but every once in a while people will overpay the bills.
Any,
No way.
okay, any other questions on that? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the vouchers?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the vouchers. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hooker,
Yes.
Councilmember Haven,
Yes.
Councilmember Gillis,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck,
Yes.
Councilmember Raisler.
Yes.
All 5 in favor.
The vouchers are approved. Any other future issues or agenda items? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor